And there's been more news around these illegal business dealings, with the House Oversight Committee working hard and uncovering emails detailing that then VP Joe Biden, back when he was in the Obama administration, signed off on Hunter's business partner's Burisma talking points. Adam, take us through this. James Comer, the chair of that committee, has requested more access to these communications. Is there an impeachment fight going to loom over this stuff?
Well, certainly we're going to find out in the next few weeks or 2 months at the most. There is a lot of talk of an impeachment inquiry. The Speaker of the House, of course, has flagged that a couple of months ago. The reality is it's going to be a close vote, though, in the House of Representatives. Republicans only have a very small margin there, and plenty of Republicans in the House and the Senate, at this stage at least, say that they don't support an impeachment inquiry. I mean, personally, I think that there's plenty of evidence, certainly lots of circumstantial evidence. You've just alluded to some. There's the email aliases. Of course, there's the many years-long chain of issues related to Ukraine, the lunches, the dinners and so forth. I mean, they could summarise it all up into an impeachment inquiry to get to the bottom of it. But whether that happens, we have to wait and see. There's certainly reluctance in the Senate, I think, to pursue an impeachment inquiry. It tends to be a more conservative body, small c conservative body, but we'll see.
Now, Karol, I want to ask you about the politics of this out there in middle America, outside Washington, outside the Beltway. How much attention is this getting? And do people care about Biden misdeeds when he was vice president? Or would the Republicans be smarter to focus on economic issues, those sorts of cost of living things, which I think so many people are having a really hard time with still as they head into this next election?
Well, I think they can easily do both. They can portray Biden very fairly as, somewhat crooked and involved in some very shady business dealings with his son. And they can also say not only does he have these issues that are clearly a problem and, really compromise him, but he's also been a terrible leader. Everything is more expensive since Biden became president. It doesn't have to be, I think, one or the other. And as we do head into this next election, I think that Republicans should just grow a backbone more than anything else. Like, stop being afraid of what the media is going to say about them. Stop being afraid of having a bad article about you in the New York Times. And I think that they should really fight and see that this is what the American people actually want. They want to see a fight for values and a fight where their interests are represented.
Indeed. I mean, that worrying about the New York Times, that's always a problem for the right. But let's talk about foreign policy now. More money, another, to use my best Austin Powers, $1 billion has been announced for Ukraine following a Russian missile strike, and another $600 million was just announced overnight. Adam, the U.S. seems to have unlimited money for this. It does seem to be a blank check. At some point, are Republicans going to make a foreign policy issue of this? I mean, I know people want to say what Putin's doing in Ukraine is terrible, but at the same time, this can't go on forever.
Yes. Well, just on the money point, they actually don't have the money. I mean, there's going to be a budget deficit in the US this year, I think, of $2 trillion. So all of this additional money that is being given to Ukraine, of course, is just borrowed or printed, depending on the particular week in question. So they don't have the money, actually. But just on the political point, most Republicans, I think 60-70%, do not want to lend extra support to the war in Ukraine for various reasons. And if the Republican leadership in Congress listens to its supporters, then it should not support this extra sum of money. I mean, it's actually more than $1 billion. I think the billion that's being referred to is actually part of a previous drawdown, I think. But the White House has actually requested another $24 billion, which will be voted upon in the coming weeks in Congress. And I think that's where you're going to see a serious political debate. I think most Americans see the war as a stalemate, as a tragedy, and I think reasonable analysts are starting to see that they're just throwing good money after bad, and the youth of Ukraine and, of course, also Russia are just dying in the process without any actual progress.